Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Thursday, October 3rd, and we were just talking about how in this chapter of Ezekiel 16, Jerusalem is being compared to an unfaithful wife. And there's a lot of sexual imagery in here, so I want to give you that little note. It may not be a good idea to have children in the room because it gets pretty specific in their lack of faithfulness and using this analogy as a comparison. So yesterday we saw that Jerusalem was an infant that was thrown out, is being compared to an infant that is freshly born, not being cared for, not being cleaned up, and is just being cast in a field and left to die. That's where we left off yesterday. That brings us to verse 6. And when I, this is the Lord talking, passed by you and saw you wallowing in your blood, I said to you in your blood, live. I said to you in your blood, live. So God gave life to Jerusalem. This is the ESV Fire Study Bible, choosing it to be the holy city and inspiring David to capture it from the Jebusites. So in a nutshell, what God is saying here is, I saw that you were in a vulnerable position, and I came in and I took care of you and I nurtured you. Verse 7, I made you flourish like a plant of the field, and you grew up and became tall and arrived at full adornment. Your breasts were formed and your hair had grown, yet you were naked and bare. So that brings us to verse 8. And the ESV Fire Study Bible had an interesting note for verse 8. And it said, a covenant is a binding life agreement or pledge. God made a covenant with his people based on his laws and promises and on the people's obedience and faithfulness to him. Jerusalem played a major role in the covenant and received many gifts and benefits because she was chosen by God. God claimed her for himself. Under his care, she grew to full maturity and great beauty. After the marriage, her fame was spread throughout the ancient world. So then we get to verse 8, and it's got this very interesting thing. And when I dug into it, I found some very cool information about it. Verse 8 says, when I passed by you again and saw you, behold, you were at the age for love. That means you're fully mature, you're able to get married and have kids. You've gone through that puberty. And I spread the corner of my garment over you and covered your nakedness. I made my vow to you and entered into a covenant with you, declares the Lord God, and you became mine. Now, I got curious about this corner of the garment over you. And what I found is that it was a metaphor that was symbolized protection and entering into a marriage covenant. And you may remember that in the book of Ruth, Boaz took his garment and put it over Ruth. Verse 9, then I bathed you with water and washed off your blood from you and anointed you with oil. So that basically means that they're going through that wedding ceremony. Verse 10, I clothed you also with embroidered cloth and shod you with fine leather. I wrapped you in fine linen and covered you with silk. So among this is from the Cultural Study Bible. Among the bridal gifts is embroidered cloth for her gown. Only the finest cloth was embroidered, and it was considered a prize in war, as well as a luxury item suitable for trade with other countries. On a more practical level, both the code of Hammurabi and laws of Lipit Ishtar from the Mesopotamian list oil, grain, and clothing as the items that husbands are required to supply their wives. These sandals of fine leather, they're ordinary sandals, but they were made with woven fibrous material and secured with leather thongs. The footwear, entirely made of leather, would have been a luxury and a signifier of both wealth and power. Then we get to verse 11. And I adorned you with ornaments and put bracelets on your wrists and a chain around your neck. I put a ring on your nose and earrings in your ears and a beautiful crown on your head. So the Cultural Study Bible said that the full array of jewelry provided by the husband consists of many types of jewelry regularly used to adorn a woman's body and head. Like the bride gifts for Rebecca in Genesis 24:22, there are arm bracelets, possibly with animal heads at each end. The necklace may have been a strand of beads or linked metal chains similar to those in Assyrian reliefs or the Nimrod ivories depicting royal Assyrian women. So basically what God is saying here is, I have nurtured you, I have cared for you, and I have lavished you with these blessings and these luxuries. And what did you do in response? You were unfaithful. That's what we're going to see as we continue on with this chapter. We've got to stop and think about how God has nurtured and cared for you. And you know what? A great Bible study tool, it's really not necessarily a Bible study tool, but a great devotional tool, excuse me, would be to sit and list the ways that God has cared for you, because you're going to notice that list is quite long. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.